Hello and welcome to Stampscapes Live. We're going to do step 3 on this piece that's developing. And this scene, if you are just logging into, I don't know, whatever, the creation of this scene or the channel in general, this scene is an 11 by 17 piece on semi-gloss papers, so we're talking about a really big, kind of involved scene here. I could do it really much faster than I'm doing, but this is kind of just one of those pieces that I do once in a while where I'm going for kind of the extremes and really trying to push the effects that that I'm going for in this piece. So definitely overkill with everything, but every now and then you got to do things with a lot of overkill just to kind of push the envelope. Specifically in this one, it's creating depth and texture within different forms and different spaces in here. Hello, Bugs. How are you today? All right, so that being said, I've laid down a ton of layers of inks on this. We've given it base layers of dye-based inks, water-based dyes, okay? And then we've gone over the top of those with alcohol inks, so transparent alcohol inks, so alcohol over water. And then we've gone with a thicker medium in some of the areas with the acrylic paint pens. All right, so that being said, you can go over your dye-based inks with your alcohol inks, okay, and it's not going to put your dye-based inks back into solution. You can put dye-based inks over dye-based inks, and it will layer, okay? But if you try to put too many layers of alcohol inks over the top of other alcohol inks, what happens is it puts the other, base layers of alcohol inks back into solution. You know, the top layers of alcohol will dissolve the bottom layers. So what I've done to this piece is I've just given it a quick coating of spray fixative, okay? And that's a little bit different than just an acrylic spray, a general acrylic sealant, in that the workable fixatives tend to have a much thinner type of application. It's a little bit more textured so that you can use your other types of dry media over the top of it. I'm not using dry media, I'm using wet, but it doesn't influence, spray fixatives don't influence the surface as much as like a thicker acrylic spray. Okay, now the reason why I did that is because I want to go into especially my tree forms here and maybe some of my rocks with some more alcohol inks, because when I was doing that in the last video, it was just dissolving what I had underneath there and I wasn't able to achieve kind of a thicker, potentially more vibrant and deep layer of hue. Now, I don't know if, this alcohol can potentially put dissolve the acrylic sealant too, but we'll see how it goes. I think it's just going to be better than not doing anything. Oh, Cynthia, how are you? Okay, so let's try it right here. And just doing this right here, it is not putting the alcohol ink underneath there back into solution. Now, if I just keep layering it and, I put a ton of it, I don't know. But I think that spray sealant did the trick, the spray fixative. I use the acrylic spray fixative with an F. I think the other ones are called spray fixatives with a V as in Victor. But okay, so I'm adding in this kind of, I don't know, reddish, on this one they call it the R27 right here. On the cap here it looks more like the R21, but it's, these are the skin tone markers that I find work pretty good for, these trees, these, bark of trees, and that, we have these warm, varied tones that are designed to kind of blend, harmoniously with each other. They're not designed to do, gigantic trees, but if they're the same general tones, then why not, right? And this is a nice cheap pack. All right, so as I'm going in here, it's not dissolving the colors underneath, but it is kind of giving a little bit of a buildup on this surface right here. And then when I go over this color with additional marks, it's kind of, it's doing that alcohol mark thing where it's kind of dissolving and kind of moving it around a little bit, but that's fine. It almost kind of, I don't know, helps in the blending process, or actually maybe the texturing process is a better kind of word for it, because it does have a very textured look to it now. Because I'm not doing this on matte paper where everything just kind of blends away, the more blending you put on there. But for me, tree bark has texture, and it, has that look to it. So you can see that color is doing and how different it looks from the other ones. You can see it. I think it looks richer in here. We can also use this darker one as shade, but it, having that little bit of that reddish tinge to it, I think looks pretty good, rather than just going with like gray. A gray can be used, but it tends to kind of mute out. It can darken so we can achieve shading, but it tends to mute out your vibrancy as far as your colors go. So maybe in some areas, you might want that just to create a little bit of separation in appearance between your trees. So I don't know, you just let your kind of eye be the judge of it. It's got, if you haven't done this, or haven't been going for, a certain type of color scheme, like I haven't been. This is like my first time using these pens here in the extreme like this. I just have to kind of, I don't know, make a prediction as far as kind of appearance and how things are going to look eventually on here. All right, so I like this reddish tinge here. I think it's, I don't know, it's, like I said, it's a little bit deeper and kind of a little bit more of what I want. I'm gonna have to blend it out though, because it does look, I want texture, but not like a really bad texture. Okay. Jeannie, what did you have for lunch, Jeannie? Jeannie, are you eating like 3 times a day at those buffets? I wonder if, Jeannie's on a cruise, for anyone that doesn't know, in Alaska. Hello, Kay, Patty. Great to see you. Hello, Linda. Go check out Linda's scene. Linda posted the Flickr. You can just look her up by Linda Bystrom. Actually, I tagged your. I didn't know. I don't know. You might have left your account open to where people can add tags to your scene. So I added your name as a tag. So if someone goes to Flickr.com and they look up, Linda Bystrom, your gallery or your pieces will come up like that. But you can check out Linda's really cool version of this scene here. Linda works fast, so she finished her piece, faster than I am doing here. Okay, so let's see. This is a lighter colored tree here, so I'm just kind of adding this down like this, like in these marks. For the purpose of, I'm laying it out on this tree right here like it's a palette. And then what I do is I just go in with my lighter tones and I'm going to blend that color out. Okay, so I'm just kind of putting a little bit of a, a streak of this color down like that for the purpose of, I don't know, usage with another color. Where these ones over here, it's largely, color, application for, that color's sake. you know, I intend to, I mean, I said I was going to blend it out, but I'm, you know, these ones I'm really going to blend out. These ones over here, it's just kind of like smoothing it out on the edges. Oh, Linda. Well, yeah, you know, why not, Linda? Take a nap right now. Um, take a, just, you know, don't, you know, don't turn off the volume so that you can pick up all this kind of on a, like a subconscious level instead of, you know, consciously. And, um, you know, we'll incorporate the live stream here into your dreams or nightmare, whatever, whichever one, you know. Did I say hello to Bonnie? Gee, 2 meals at buffet, dinner in restaurant. Oh, is that the way it goes? They don't people they don't have the buffet at for dinner or in the restaurant. Oh, is that why do you take a nap during the daytime, Linda? Sometimes I'm like, I've done like live streams before, like at midnight or 1 a.m. And Linda's on the same, you know, Pacific Standard Time as I am. And, or I'm on Facebook and, you know what I mean? Linda's like a night owl too. So I can, you know, not that I expect to, well, I don't know, maybe I do expect to see her on there. Or I'm kind of wondering if Linda's going to be on sometimes at those like super late, you know, streams. Okay, if you just logged on, one of the things I did on this piece was I I'm looking at some of this red right here, but I spray sealed this piece so specifically for these alcohol inks, and I wanted to be able to lay down some more alcohol inks without um, influencing those existing layers of, you know, alcohol, which are really hard to layer unless you're spray sealing. So I try to I usually spray seal with like a Krylon UV spray or something like that, but I use the workable fixative, and I'm convinced it locked down my layers in here pretty well. But like I said, I mean, if you put a ton of like alcohol, like a solvent on something, and you're just layering it over that, it could eat through that workable fixative, you know, because workable fixatives, for one thing, they're not supposed to be, you know, super thick on there anyways. You know, it's supposed to just be just enough sealant to lock down mostly things like dry media like charcoals and graphite and pastels. But I think it's doing the trick for our alkaline. So if you can see right in there, see that those textures that I've added in with these reddish tones like that? I wouldn't be able to do that without kind of, you know, dissolving and digging up, you know. I don't know. It's almost like digging up because you're kind of like melting into, it's almost like having like wax on that surface or something like that, and kind of going with a hot knife and going back into it, you know, which is almost the kind of the feeling of it when you're, you know, kind of moving around those alcohol layers in there. So But see that, that reddish tinge on there. So I just think it created a little bit more depth in those trees like that. So just it's like a one extra layer, and that red kind of stands out because it's a lot more red than the colors that were already laid down on there. Some, I don't know, maybe some areas is a little bit too much, but I can just kind of blend it out if I want to. I mean, you can remove it if you want to completely with your blender pen. You just kind of go like that and just kind of wipe it off like so. But this is, it's looking more like, kind of what I think I was hoping that we can get, with kind of some extreme kind of layering in here with this. Let's see here. Alaskan cruises being empty. Huh. Specifically Alaskan cruises, you heard? Some of those, like when those cruises are kind of empty, if people are flexible, you can jump on those at the last minute and get a really great deal at times, right? I was watching something in regards to that. All right. Whoa. I think I've really changed the trees. Or I don't know. Maybe not changed, but kind of deepened maybe the tree depth. But when I say a lot, though, I'm not talking about like, oh my God, it went up like, it's like 50% more kind of depth in there. But even, after you've added like a certain amount of media and whatever textures and colors down, at some point in time, it's like that I don't know, that, what is it, that bell curve or something like that. If you want to get like 5% kind of richer in your tones, you have to do like, I don't know, whatever, like, like a 30% more of an application or something like that. And I think that's kind of the case with this type of thing. The thing is, I just don't want to start doing like additive types of things. And if I can help it, it's not going to, have a subtractive type of effect on there, it's, which is possible. It's possible for me to do, too, especially when I'm kind of experimenting around with things. But I don't know. It's not a bad thing. I don't know if I don't want it to happen, but if it does, I'll know in the future of, just, where to take things and where kind of the limits are, maybe, a little bit more with a specific set of media. Let's see, I'm stamping another 11 by 17 with a twist, and it's been a nightmare to stamp. My choices for the composition haven't scrapped paper in a long time. Well, you know what we always say about that, Linda? It's what you said to, what is it, Verna, that posted her scrap paper. Someone posted a piece of their scrap paper, that was, the thing that they were stamping, their piece on, but there's a bunch of like little kind of like compositional kind of arrangements on just a piece of like copy paper. And she posted that on Facebook, which is kind of cool to see. But I was thinking, you know, there could be something that could be done with that piece, you know, and just as a challenge, though. The one thing you know, that would be kind of hard to work around on a piece of that, you know, scrap paper is if it was done, if the scrap paper is a piece of cardstock, that would be a lot better. But if it's like just on some general cheap copy paper, you know, it's going to limit us in terms of the media that can be applied to it, you know, effectively. I was thinking, you know, colored pencils or something like that, or just do some kind of monochrome, you know, grayscale piece or something like that. But never scrap anything. If you're gonna scrap anything, put it in a pile and like mail it off to me, and I'll show you how to finish these you know, pieces off. Now, I mean, if someone drops like a, you know, a bottle of ink and it just go, you know what I mean, goes over their page, maybe not something like that, but you know, in terms of like you know, techniques or something like that, if you ever think that you've kind of, you know, you're at the end of the rope and you know you've kind of gone off, some piece have gone, you know, seemingly has gone off the rails, and you don't think anything can be done to improve the piece or resurrect it or whatever from where it was before, just mail it off to me. Or you can just take a photograph and I can explain it to you how to do it. But, you know, if you'd rather just see it being done, send it over and I'll show you how to, you know, kind of maximize the piece. And often, you know, oftentimes it was just, you know, like said, with most of the pieces that I've ever seen, and I'm talking about like 95 or 8%, you know what I mean? That most, not like 50% or something like that. It's just, when I look at it, those pieces, it's just, it's usually, you know, like step, I don't know, whatever, like 5 out of 10 of where I would have taken the piece eventually. But they're seeing kind of a preliminary incarnation as that final thing that they, you know, they think it's, you know, kind of gone off the rails. So, and I'll just show you how it's done, and then, you know, and people, you know, when you, if you ever kind of, you know, reach that point again, you can just employ the you know, the exact same kind of techniques that I do, you know, which is usually, you know, it's usually some darker tones, additional texture, and highlighting, you know. It's, those things like that can always be done on pieces to just kind of bring them around and to finalize them. Okay, I'm adding some additional shadows on these rocks. One of the things about these rocks right in here was that they were kind of of the same finish quality. Okay, so you see these rocks right here, and right here. The lighting is kind of the same on all of them, right? So the lighting here could be exactly the same as over here. So I need to alter them a little bit just to bring a little bit more focus into here, which I want to have more of the lighting happening right in this space. So I'm just going to tint, sorry about that glare there, these portions right here. But I don't need to make them black or anything like that. You just kind of incrementally make them a little bit darker and you know, maybe take out some of the lightest of areas in here just to kind of, you know, bring a little bit more focus in here. I don't need to, we still want them nice and illuminated and rounded, but we just don't want them exactly the same as in here. You know, in this piece right here, I mean, I think it looks fine, but, you know, on this piece right here, just where I, you know, I'm going for, you know, kind of some, you know, extremes in terms of, I don't know, finish quality, I guess. All right, so this is a light blue. So you're saying, hey, Kevin, you know, you said you're going to go darker in there. Okay, but some of the lightest areas in here are lighter than the super light color. So you just go back with your lightest of tones like that and just color them in like that. And you just, when you're working kind of so kind of incrementally through your value schemes. You know, this one's practically, it's practically a, well, this one's blue. It's practically a, like a blending, you know, marker, you know, just with clear, you know, alcohol in it. Okay, so I start off with something like that. And then you just, you know, you can make it as dark as you want, and there's not really going to be any surprises in it because it just gets a little bit darker, you know, with each color. If you have that. Now, if you only have like, you know, 3 or 4 colors, you know, you're going to have to make those jumps a lot faster, but maybe you just do a lot more blending in of colors. You just add a little bit down like I was doing up here, and then you blend it in, okay? Okay, I'm getting rid of like a lot of this lighting over here on this rock. But when I say getting rid of the lighting, though, it's still kind of a rounded form where the base of it is a little bit darker and the top of it is lighter. It's just not the same as this one right here, which is closer to this illumination, okay? I mean, it's kind of a shame because these are really nicely illuminated, but, you know, it is kind of, you know, painful for me to sacrifice them in the name of the overall. But hey, you know, that's the way it goes sometimes. Sacrifice a little bit of the lighting for, I don't know, whatever overall kind of drama, you know, like that. So see that right there? So see, these rocks right here aren't playing quite as big a role in terms of, you know, the visuals, but you still get the textures and everything like that. That this area in here is a little bit light, but I don't know if I want to take this too light because I have this branch in front where I have some of that yellow and orange kind of, you know, fall foliage that I want to stand, you know, have stand out against that background. So, all right, so let's do the same thing over here too. Okay. I kind of hate it. I hate doing it. So if you're ever kind of, you know, you have like really a nicely illuminated area with your forms defined and rounded, I feel your pain. But if you go ahead and do it, I'll be proud of you for the sake of it. And you might say, hey, you know, I did it, but I liked it better before, you know. And so, yeah, it was still a good thing to try it out. We want to get it like you want to be as like close to fearless as possible, generally in your pieces. Okay, so see this right here? This is getting a little bit toned, you know, down a little bit. Let's go a little bit darker right here. Okay, let's see. Yeah, you mean, Patty, you mean watch Linda and her process. Linda should do some videos. Just record it on your phone if you know. You don't have a setup, just get one of those little, like, I don't know if you can see this thing right here. This is, I can't get it into view here. I have my cotton balls on it, but it's, you know, one of those lamp, I mean, not lamp, but it's, like a phone or tablet holder, you know, and it clips onto your table, and it has that arm that can kind of bend over into whatever angle you want. And, you know, you just have it kind of, you know, shoot, you know, arced over your work area like that. Okay, this is that really light blue again. This is gray. It's kind of a mid-tone gray. Or I don't know, maybe it's a 20%, maybe it's a light gray. Yeah, it's like a 30% probably. Okay, can you see what that did though? I don't know. I mean, it took a while, so it wasn't like a snap, so I don't know if you saw it, but, you know, I don't know, doesn't it look a little bit better now? I think this is good too. These rocks are a little bit darker because of the influence of the trees. You know, it'd stand to reason that those areas are in shadow a little bit more, but, you know, we lost that really nice kind of subtle lighting that was on these rocks. All right, I am going to tone this one out here. A little bit at least. All right, better in terms of kind of directional lighting now, like that. I mean, we can make these things darker over here too, still. I just, you know, all I did was I tinted the lit areas, the illuminated parts of those rocks. I haven't done anything to the shadows either, you know, but that would be the other part of it. So I just kind of worked on the lighting part of it, and let's go into the shadows a little bit more. I'm going to add some violet tones in there. Actually, that's not dark enough. Let's see. Let's get... I don't know, is this one? This one's a little bit... I don't know, that would be gutsy. One of the things I was mentioning in my other live stream is, see this color right here? That purple, you know how that color harmony is with, you know, that kind of purple. You see it like for like Halloween types of, you know, color schemes like that. You know, with that purple and that kind of almost day glow green type of color. All right, it's basically those colors kind of. I don't know if they're complementary colors on the color wheel or not, but if you can just kind of hit this in some areas, I'm just hitting it in some of those darker areas, okay? I'll blend it out a little bit too, where it's not so purple, but, you know, it makes for a nice kind of color scheme. I guess here's the orange too, so here's the orange like that. Maybe not that dark an orange, but you have those oranges up here, that down there. So what was missing was kind of those purples. So you can just kind of sneak it into areas like in here, okay? I mean, it doesn't look purple because I'm putting it over gray and, you know, other tones that have already been laid down in there, tans. But you can just kind of get that little hint of it, you know, for the sake of that, you know, that color scheme. I don't know, having that in there too, it might make those oranges kind of stand out a little bit more too. I think that orange and purple, I think those are complementary colors, right? Opposite on the color wheel. I mean, these aren't going to be right next to those colors, but when you put complementary colors right next to each other, visually it creates this thing called a color vibration. Analogous colors right next to each other on the color wheel, create a color glow. Okay, but things opposite one another next to each other create a color vibration. So, so that, you know, we're doing a little bit of that. See the purple kind of down in there? It's really subtle. You know, I don't know if you give this, you know, card to someone, they're not going to say, oh, look at, you know, look at those purple rocks, you know, or something like that. It's a little bit more subtle than that. But I think it makes for a good, I don't know, kind of addition to kind of your more subtle areas. All right, now, I mean, some of it's a little bit too extremes here, so I'll just blend it out. Let's blend it out with this kind of warm beige a little bit. It's blending it out. It's kind of mixing with it a little bit too. So some of your brighter colors can be in the shadows. You're saying, what do you mean brighter colors in the shadows? And those are darker. I'm not talking about value. I'm talking about bright and dull, not dark and light. Okay, so bright is means intensity. So like intense and dull. Okay. Like right in here, I mean, these colors aren't super bright, right? But, you know, like this blue in here is not, it's more like a pastel blue, right? But the brighter blue is right in the shadows right in here. It's that deeper, I don't know, kind of middle gray. I don't know, what gray blue is that? Like a cobalt, I don't know, like a little bit of warmer cobalt blue or something, maybe. All right. Okay, so those rocks. I don't know. Can you tell on the video here? You know, can you pick up any? Is there a? You know what I mean? Can you get the essence a little bit of that violet tinge in these rocks now, a little bit more than what it was before? So I guess you can compare it to the blues down here. This is just straight blues with a base coat of like a, what was it, the peach Bellini or something like that. But in here you can see there's a lot of those tans, there's blues, there's purples now. And I just went back in with a little bit more of, you know, the, you know, this warm beige color. I don't know, it's like a sandal or something like that, right over the top of it. K says, I can see you dreaming of being in one of Kevin's scenes and him trying to color you. We do, you know, if anyone wants some custom, like body stamping work, just go to the, like the body stamping, page on the Stampscapes.com website, and there's different rates there for that. Okay. I wonder if any of this is soaking through. I've laid down so much tone on some of these areas. All right, so that purple worked out decently. Okay, let's see here. Let me blend out some of that tan in this rock right here a little bit. Some of these pieces are so big, you know, when you're doing this type of thing. See, I already forgot about this. I was going to say, sometimes I forget to work on some areas, you know, because I'm looking at things like this and this and this. I'm kind of compartmentalized. You know, I'm working on a small little area that, you know, a lot of times you have to kind of hold it up and look at it overall. See, I forgot to, you know, I should add some of those purple tones right in this foreground rock again. That's the area that I keep forgetting about working on this piece, this foreground area. So I guess it's because my focus is kind of in this general area right here. It's like the, you know, it's like the middle of the stage or something like that. Jeannie's about to take a nap. I don't nap usually. Oh, had, oh, 6 COVID shot. Right, right. Yeah, take a nap, and be ready for that the 2 a.m. Um, live stream tonight, Linda. Oh, you got a full cruise, Jeannie? Hello, Helen. Jeannie's one's full. Maybe people heard that Jeannie was going to be on the cruise. You know what I mean? And they advertised that, and it was like, it like filled up after that. Okay, let's see. Let's add in some of these tones in here. Now this purple in here, I'm going to be a little bit more careful about it because I didn't treat these rocks quite as much with a lot of different media as these ones in here. Okay, so this little tinge of this new color is standing out much more prominently. Okay, but I want it to be subtle, so, or more subtle, I guess. So I'll just be a little bit careful about it here, or not careful, but I'll just use it a little bit more sparsely. Okay, so we did that, and let's blend it in again. Okay, again, warm gray here. When I add this warm gray to it, it's putting the purple, that violet, back into solution a little bit, so it's making it a much kind of paler, warmer tinge of that incarnation. So, just keep that in mind. The color just directly out of the pen isn't necessarily the one that you have to kind of be stuck with, especially if you're layering things like this. If you're doing it in matte paper, it's soaking in, and it's not going to be that easy to change the hue completely like you can on this piece at this point in time. Like I'm going into this, if I added any color down on this piece, especially after that spray sealant, I can just go in here and I can like erase the color right off of there if I want to. Practically, it's not erasing it, but it's just kind of lifting it off. But I don't know if you can see these kind of little purplish kind of tinges down here now. So I think that, those rocks in there and that hue look pretty good in that tone. Now, let me try something here too. I'm adding some of this in the black areas of the trees, okay? So it doesn't look black. When I'm adding this over the top of these deeper, richer brown tones, it looks more like, like this color. It's this reddish, tinge. But in some areas it looks, a little bit more violet too. So again, it's one of those things that's, can potentially add a little bit of visual continuity to your different regions as far as the color scheme goes by doing this. So this is this is the purple on here, okay? And like I said, I'm adding it largely like in this, this deep, dark, this black impression area. But then where it kind of comes out of that a little bit onto this area, I'm getting a little tinge of that. So, see, when you do like that type of thing, I think I could see it. I think it's it's just doing, it's just kind of building up those trunks even more. In terms of color richness. And yeah, I'm kind of keeping in mind, I don't necessarily want to go like way too far with it. Too far in terms of making something look real murky or something like that. I mean, that one looks pretty good. That color on there. I'm adding just another layer with this one right here, and I think it's working pretty good. Whereas before I spray sealed it, I was just kind of putting back into solution the colors that were already laid down. It was just kind of like melting them, but it looks like this is working pretty well as far as like just laying down a real, a thin layer of this other tone, warmth, I guess, on top of there. It's like warm, rich woods, like that. Okay, so, So that was kind of the, the similar colors right here. These two right here were laid down on the rocks. Okay. All right. Oh, you did, Linda. You cut your 11 by 17 into smaller compositions or something like that. You saved your favorite parts like that, huh? Art foamies. Christmas is coming. Oh, uh, those art foamies for these larger pieces, 8.5 by 11 and up, especially with this, with the 9-inch one like this. This thing has been really fun to work with. The larger trunks. So, I mean, even on this 11 by 17, I mean, I didn't even use, I think I used, I don't know, what is that? Like, I don't know, whatever, like 2/3 of it on here. I mean, it looks bigger than that, but I mean, I could have gone like all the way down like that, 9 inches top to bottom or something like that. So they're pretty fun to play around with in terms of scale. But I love the way your piece came out, though. If you just logged on, go and check out Linda's scene up on Facebook that she did, an 11 by 17 version, or her 11 by 17 as well, version of this 11 by 17. Very, very, very nice. Okay, so Jeannie, are you going to stamp out any of anything in the spirit of what you've seen in Alaska? I don't know if Jeannie's still on. She might have went and took that nap after that buffet. Okay, let's darken some of these areas underneath the tree trunks. I couldn't get these areas darker with my alcohol pens when I was trying to do that, because it was putting all of my alcohol inks back into solution, and I was just kind of like removing all of that alcohol that I laid down. And there's a lot of dye-based inks underneath here too, but I was removing definitely removing the alcohol. Okay, so I don't know, like I said, if this is really doing anything, but I'm starting off light like this. And then working a little bit darker. What color was that? Grayish, brownish gray. All right. I grabbed a bunch of pens, kind of not knowing what I'd be doing. Let's see. Here's a little bit of a deeper green. This is like an olive green right here, okay? And I want these areas right in here a little bit darker, to a lot darker. Do I ever use blending pens? Hardly ever, Candy. Are you talking about the alcohol blending pen, the clear one? Or, you know, the one that, you know, would have a clear cap or something like that? I occasionally do, but the blending that I like to do, and by the way, that's a really good question. The blending that I do, I usually blend within a certain color scheme, right? So if I'm let's say I'm doing blues down in here. If I'm blending down in here, I just would rather, if I'm kind of blending in my darker tones or mid-tones or darker tones, I just assume use a lighter version of that hue down here. So, you know, I'd use a light blue in a light blue area. If I'm blending greens out, I just assume use a light green to do that with, just so that I'm applying hue down in those areas, okay? Rather than just going with some clear liquid. Now, occasionally I might do it if I have to blend out something like in here, like where it's like really light, like almost white, to a very light tone next to it. That's where I would use a blender pen, because I don't want to influence that and darken it in if it's supposed to be an illuminated area. So that's the only time I really do that. But you know, all of these other things in here, you know why I'm using like this one here, I'm just kind of going over everything with it. Like this color right here was somewhat similar to that base coat peach Bellini that I added over just about everything in here. It's like that color right in here. That color is kind of running under and throughout everything down here. That little warmish tinge right in here. So it's almost like this is somewhat of the lightest color in here. I mean, I did retain some white, you know, because I want to bring in some of that white pigment ink later, but this is the thing that's kind of the base coat over most of the rest of the scene. So I'm blending in with the color of that base coat, you know, in a lot of these different areas. I mean, I can even use it down here probably. This might be a little bit too dark, but like this warm gray right here. Like that one. That one would be a really good one as a blender pen in here. Okay, so, you know, I can't remember the last time I've used a blender pen. I use it so seldomly. But sometimes it's like, okay, I have to go to that one, you know, so I'll use it. But it's only like in those white areas there. Yeah, I don't know. If I use it once a year, you know, it wouldn't surprise me if it's as infrequent as that. Okay, do you see that? Okay, so see I'm getting darker over here in these areas right here. So we went darker over here in this area, and I'm going darker over here to bring more attention to this area right here. And it's kind of anchoring the trees down a little bit more in terms of, you know, kind of shadow in that area. I really need to go with it in here too. This is a really light area. I didn't realize I'd be doing quite as much shadow work in this part, whatever, live stream. But I think it's helping a lot. As long as it keeps helping the piece, I kind of keep doing it, and it's like, okay, you know, it's not really influencing the, you know, the piece, you know, enough for the effort, then I usually stop doing it. But I don't know, every time I keep adding these shadows down, I thought it was, you know, pretty dark in there in some of these areas, but I don't know, I think it's helping it quite a bit still. All right, so I'm just coming up with this little green streak into my trees. I don't want to do it here because it's a really super light one, but having some of this green kind of merging, you know, with the tree trunk like that, I don't know, kind of plants them into that area a little bit more, I think, from a visual sense, like that. But doing that, making these things darker right here, I might need to make these rocks a little bit darker now too. You know, so you have to just kind of keep adjusting. And again, this is like an extreme version. I was thinking, after I'm done with this piece right here, I'm going to do like a quick scene version of this. It's, of course, it's not going to be a 11 by 17, but I'll do like a 15-minute version of this card that'll kind of, you know, get the spirit of it down at least. And we'll do that on like a quarter-page card. And that's kind of the way I like to work too. Sometimes, you know, if I do something like to the extreme, I like to do something on the other side. You know, this is something that's taken up, you know, a decent amount of time to do. You know, the next few cards might be, you know, quick cards, you know, 10, you know, whatever, 10, 15-minute type of cards. Okay, ooh, that's a little bit too orange-ish. Let's see. Let's hit this with the brownish gray a little bit more. Oh, where's my gray? All right. I'm going to lose a little bit more lighting here because this tree is going to be casting, you know, a bit of a shadow in this area. Okay. All right. I think that's better. So much glare here. I'm not sure what to do with this piece right here because there could be some light coming in from this side on the other side of this tree, so but it's kind of a, you know, it might be illuminated a little bit too much. I'm not sure. Oh, the early morning lives. Yeah, I haven't done that in a long time. So I'd be taking my kid to school and dropping him off. So sometimes I'd jump on the live right after, you know, right after I got back from that. All right, what time do you get up, Linda? I only asked Linda that. I don't, you know, but because I was just saying, you know, she's someone that's, you know, seems to be up. You know, it wouldn't be too uncommon, you know, to, you know, Linda's, you know, posting on Facebook at 2 a.m. or something like that. Okay, I'm adding more blues into those shadow regions. I keep doing this, and it kind of just keeps blending in a little bit, but I'm kind of building it up a little bit more and more. I mean, this is like really kind of extreme and rich here, but I don't know, that's the way this, that's the point of this scene though. Extreme. So here's a question for you, all you crafters out there. Looking back, you know, in terms of I don't know, your crafting history or stamping history, is there any? I've answered this before, but I don't know. Do people kind of? Is there a difference in? Do you think is there a difference in either quality or spirit to your pieces? You know, when you're, you know, creating them at different times of day. You know, some people are it might be morning. You know, crafters, or some might be more nighttime types of thing. You know, personally, I always thought some of my more, I don't know, creative work maybe. I don't know if it's still the case, but it used to be kind of that, you know, really late night type of, you know, whatever explorations that I thought might have, I don't know, yielded kind of a, I don't know, kind of a different spirit, you know, to the pieces. I mean, it was definitely true when I was like a student, um, doing stuff like really late at night. It might still be the case. I'm not sure. Okay, so I just anchored down my rocks a little bit more like that to make them stand out a little bit. See, when you make your shadows a little bit darker in here, it's like, okay, you might do that with different little objects too, just to make it a little bit more cohesive. If you're saying that there's a certain type of lighting on certain types of objects, then maybe you apply that same lighting to other objects, within your scene. It doesn't necessarily have to be the case, but um, I don't know. It's like certain things are kind of like coming into focus a little bit differently, and I like to kind of render things out, to a similar finish while I'm doing it. I don't know if I said hello to Froggy Fresh. Froggy Fresh, did you stamp out any dragon scenes last night? Coming around, Froggy Fresh. Can you? I don't know, Froggy Fresh. You just logged on, which maybe is good because can you see? Does it look different? From I don't know, from whatever you remember yesterday. I've worked the shadows on here, and like the trees got, I don't know, maybe 3 additional layers of colors on there. I've spray sealed this, okay, in between yesterday and today, so that I can lay down some more alcohol inks on the top of it, and it worked. The alcohol inks, I was able to get a lot more layering of alcohol inks on the top of this. I don't know how many times you can do that. I don't know if it's going to work if you know, lay down whatever, 5, seal it off 5 layers and then add on more and more and more. I don't know. I'm not quite sure how far you can take it. Um, Sometimes you might start doing that. I don't know. I don't know if it'll start flattening it out as opposed to making it look richer. But that's a technique that they used to do in like oil paints. It's like you lay down these, like, a huge amount of like transparent glazes of colors over your composition, and there's those paintings, they call them like trompe-l'oeil. It's to fool the eye, when you see like some kind of like a still life or something like that of a table, and there's a bunch of fruit on it or something like that, and they look like super super realistic, and that's usually the technique they used on there, um, to create that that super realistic look. It's just just glaze upon glaze upon glaze of you know um, transparent oils. Not that we're going for it here, but I'm laying down some additional layers of transparent hue over the top of this. All right. Okay. So that was just gray. All right. Okay. This is really starting to feel different, because of all the media on it. It doesn't really, I don't know, feel like a piece of paper to me at this point in time. It's like a piece of like I don't know, but not really canvas or something like that, but I don't know, maybe. It's like in between paper and like, I don't know, like something cloth maybe, some kind of cloth fiber. Maybe in terms of the weight, and I guess like all the the pores and everything, the pulp of the paper starts absorbing all of this paper, all of this media too. So I don't know, it just feels a little bit different to me. Okay, so I grabbed these pens right here. I was looking through that new set of pens, paint pens, and I thought I would just try some additional textures in here. I don't want to do anything too crazy here. Okay, so this is like a brown, right? And I don't necessarily want a bunch of, brown dots or anything like that over my pieces, but I might want just some additional textures in here, but I want it to be kind of, really subtle. So where I'm going to be applying this, I'm not going to apply it in something that's, really light, and getting this type of color down on here. And I don't want to apply it somewhere dark where it's, that's going to be like some kind of like brown dot over black or something like that, okay? I don't want, like this type of look on here, okay? So where I'm applying this or I'm going to try it here, is in an area or an object, or an area within an object that's roughly the same value as this. So it's just going to be, slightly different texture, and it's going to be a subtle one within that area. It's just kind of more for the sake of getting a little bit of this texture down that's happening within these trees that's so prominent in here. It's kind of, you know what I mean? It's those little dots like that are kind of the star of the piece. So I just want to create a little bit more of a relation between the different areas in here. The rocks already have some of that in there. The grasses do, and like I said, the trees and branches down there too. So this is just one of those other little subtle things. I mean, you can have it stand out a little bit, but I want it a little bit more kind of, I don't know, whatever. I want a very subdued application of it. But I do think that doing things like that, again, adds a little bit more continuity to our pieces. It's just another kind of a, thing in common with the rest of the scene. Okay, so that was that color. I don't know what color this is on the trees, but I think we can do it too on these rocks as well. Here, let me see if I can zoom in a little bit. Yeah, that color that you're looking at I think is pretty good, but let me just turn up the exposure just a touch here. Okay, so I'm going to add this into, this is, these rocks right here have this little bit of texture that's supposed to represent lichen on here, so I'm just going to add some of that in that area, I think. And yeah, if you got, I mean, if you saw this piece like up close and you looked for it, you'd know it was there. But I think anyone that would come across this piece isn't going to look in here and say, oh, look at those, those colored dots, within the rocks or something like that. It's just something more of a, you know, I mean, someone would, have to kind of look at it really close, for, further inspection or whatever. And if you do these little types of things like this in your pieces, you kind of, someone, if you give a card to someone and if they're kind of looking at it, maybe they would only see it, I don't know, whatever, the third or fourth time if they looked really closely at it. But you would be rewarding them for, further inspection, as I've mentioned before. That's what my illustration teacher used to say, if you have those kind of those secondary or buried types of little details in your pieces, if someone goes and like looks at it and, looks around closer, it's just like watching a movie or something like that. If you have your favorite movies you've watched or something of that sort, and it's like, oh, I never noticed that before, you can keep discovering new things within, maybe could be your all-time favorite, movies that you've seen. But if you can keep kind of discovering new things, it's always kind of fun with that. So you do those little things, in a scene like this, you can create those little types of kind of surprises with detailing like that. Okay, so here's some blue here. And this is roughly the color of the sky up there too. It's just, it's the color of the water, but this will create that connection between our sky and reflected light on the rocks. All right. So I've been doing a lot of shading here, so they're now kind of doing highlighting here. So one of the other things you can do, Froggy Fresh was talking about find Waldo, and if you're doing a big scene like this, maybe you hide, whatever you want in here, creatures or something like that. A squirrel or, if you have a little bird or something like that, it would be fun to kind of stamp it in, whatever color. Or we can put some fish down here. So I have my fish here. Where'd it go? Oh yeah, right here. So I think I might put, a couple of these little fish in the shadows down here, but don't, I'll do them in like a pale gray or something like that, where it's just like a, you can see the kind of the outline of it or whatever, the silhouette of it. Yeah, right. So this is a light blue. It's like a... it's probably like a 15 or 20% blue. So it's in the rocks. It's definitely in the water. Now it's in the grass. But again, it's kind of one of those things. It's like a real subtle, version here. All right. You can see it a little bit right here. And I don't know if you can see it on camera here, but I've added it like into these lighter areas right in here and up top there. You can see that purplish tinge in here. Froggy Fresh got her butt paddled for stamping Bugs Bunny all over my 1-year-old brother's face. Hey, you know, that, that, if your brother went to like a tattoo parlor, that would have cost a lot of money to do. So you're saving the family, you know, however many dollars, you know, because that's what rubber stamps are for. They're reproduction, you know, they're reproduction tools, right? I wonder who. I wonder what company made those stamps. By the way. So you're. Yeah, I like these. I like how these rocks are coming around, Froggy Fresh. But you can say, hey, you know, well, you were probably too young to think about it back then. But you can say, hey, you know, at 3 years old, you can say, well, you know, does it say on the package to not stamp, you know, to not use it on like faces or something like that, skin, you know what I mean? All right, so there's a little bit of blue-ish tinges in there. So hopefully those rocks are looking a little bit more kind of rounded and, you know, kind of interesting. Hopefully, I'm going to get some of this blue on here, but it'll be very, very subtle, okay? These are really big trees, so I'll do a couple lines on here. Paint pen lines. It's kind of interesting doing this in blue. I'm usually doing this, something like this in a tan or white for sure, but this blue is, you know, pretty interesting. Don't be afraid to use your God-given, you know, blending tools, right? I think I'm working on this piece probably. I don't know. I feel like I've been working on this piece kind of upside down more than right side up. So this is acrylic paint, so I'm just kind of spreading that acrylic around a little bit. All right, so those trees have a little bit more texture on them, I think. Hopefully you could see it. Like, you know, like that little thing right there, that's the paint pen on this little ridge right there. So it kind of stands out a little bit more. This one right here, I don't know if you can tell that's blue over like white, you know. But again, it's just kind of, you know what I mean? It's not like, oh my God, there's a bunch of like blue streaks in there or something like that. It's just, you know, it's a lot more subtle. Talk about finger painting. I guess this is really finger painting here. I was talking about that with the, you know, the paper towel technique, feeling like it's finger painting. This is like actual finger painting. All right. Yeah, that looks, that finger painting works pretty good. Let's see. All right, let's see. I didn't do any dragon scenes. We'll be looking forward to those though, Froggy Fresh. My brother now has a whole bunch of pruning tats. He did 9 years in the Orient for stealing a cop car. That doesn't sound so good there. Prison tats. Oh, got it. Pruning, yeah, I was saying pruning tats. What is that? That's like some sort of a slang term, you know, I'm out of the loop for. Hello, Harold Hodgkins. Or Linda, whoever's on. I was thinking about you guys. Oh, that auction might have just finished up. Alluring Acadia is on the eBay, and it's probably, let's see, actually it might be a little bit of time left on that one. One of my best 11 by 17s up for auction right now on eBay. I think I called it Autumn over Acadia on the eBay one, but I think when I did the video, it was called Alluring Acadia. I think I like Alluring Acadia better as a name. All right, I'm adding more of this blue in here. I really like this really light blue like this. I find that light blue tones, no matter what color scheme you're working with, even it's like a completely warm color scheme, if you add in a little bit of the Memento Summer Sky isn't my favorite one because I wish it was a little bit brighter, but the Distressing Tumbled Glass is a really good one, you know, as far as stamping inks go. It's reasonably bright, you know, and I mean, it's not supposed to be real bright because it's a distress ink, and it's one of those ones that have been out for a while, so they were still thinking of kind of a little bit more aged looking, I think. But that one's a pretty good one, and if you add in, you know, even in warm color schemes like this, if you've left a little bit of white or something like that, if you just kind of streak in a little bit of that kind of bluish tinge into them. So I'm adding a lot more of this kind of bluish version with a paint pen in here, like in this area. I think it looks really good. And again, it works. It's light enough and subtle enough that even if I was doing a scene, you know, that's sunset or twilight and it's all kind of crimson or something like that, or you know, it's like a scene from Middle Earth or something like that, you know, underground with a bunch of lava. If you put a tinge of something like this in there, it just kind of makes the whole color scheme a little bit richer looking, with just a subtle kind of crystalline, you know, touch of a you know, a cool color, you know. So it kind of bends the temperature just a touch in a very subtle way, you know, where you know, a deeper blue just, you know, it wouldn't. It's, you know, it's not gonna be subtle enough. So you go with something pale and different, you know, just to get it in there, just, you know, to enrichen, you know, the whatever, the color scheme, the temperature scheme, or just the range of hue in there. Okay, so in here, I don't know, I'm adding this blue down in here. It wouldn't be happening during the autumn, but, you know, like a bunch of bluebells or something like that. But I do like this bluish color within this area. So I don't know if you can see that. See that little bluish tinge right back in here and down here a little bit. Okay, I don't know if that, you can tell that's a little bit blue. So now, you know, that little area of this greenery in here, again, it connects with this area up here and this area up here, and it's on the trees a little bit. Hello in Missouri. Oh, I remember my Missouri. Every time I see someone on from Missouri, or, you know, I'm sending stamps out to Missouri, I always think about my trip to Missouri. I only been there once, and I don't know, I really enjoyed that trip. I didn't make it to like southern Missouri, you know, but you know, Columbia and, you know, St. Genevieve and St. Charles. I really enjoyed that trip. I think it was on that trip, one of the things that I remember most of that trip, well, not most, but vividly, was on this one, you know, I drove, you know, I'd get a rental car and I'd drive to these different stores, but they were doing road construction, right? So this 2-lane going somewhere, you know, it was closing down to 1 lane, and there was a big backup of a lot of cars, you know, where we all switched over to the left lane. But it occurred to me, no one's going on this road right here and just going to the front of it where it starts to merge, you know, and gets coned off. Like no one did that. And, you know, there was like a half a mile before we got to that kind of merger into 1 lane, you know, where, you know, in Southern California, all the, you know, so some, you know, a bunch of people are going to be going in here, you know what I mean, up to that front to get over there. But everyone, you know, no one did that. So it's like a lot, you know, the driving, at least in that area, but I was assuming for the entire region, you know, everyone's like a lot more polite drivers. But it was a strange, I don't know, it's probably a strange thing to remember, but I always, that occurred to me coming from, you know, LA and Orange County. But I thought it was really cool, though. Okay, so here's a little bit of white. We're going pretty light now, okay. And what I want here, which was already kind of developing, was this passage of light through here. So do you see that on the sides of the rocks, like at the base of them? So that rock goes from light to dark like this. I mean, they're doing it like up here too. It's lighter down here and darker down here at the base of the rocks. Okay. So where this dark meets lighter with the grass, okay, that's where I'm adding these highlights like this, okay? All right, so you see that right there? So you get this little kind of oscillation of light, okay? So here's a little bit of area up here that's a little bit lighter, and you go darker, and we go lighter like this. So remember what if you've been on these videos before, I've mentioned checkerboarding, okay? So you oscillate your lights and darks across an area, okay? So that is it's a really easy way to create lighting and how to remember to formulate or to create lighting within a given space, okay? You don't have to, I'm doing it to an extent here. I wanted, the lighting to be coming from within here, okay, just in general. But you don't have to get so kind of caught up in saying, okay, wait a minute. Would this rock be lighter or would it be darker or something like that, If you just kind of go back, to this idea of checkerboarding, okay? So, in other words, how it applies to what I'm doing right now. Okay, so I'm applying some of this little white highlighting here, but it is illuminating in here too. But see, I'm going with this right here. It's like white over here, and then see there's none right here, and then so it's going from light, dark on the rock, light down here again, but it's also left to right. It's going light, darker, and lighter over here. So it's like a checkerboard. A different field, like this whole field right here is going to be the, illuminated area, but it's getting a little bit darker here, a little bit lighter here, It's, in terms of a big area, these rocks are illuminated, or, and then the shadows right here. So you go light, dark, like that, okay? So as long as you kind of, play around with that like that, that's your lighting. But where it applies to when you're doing things and when you're coloring things in, it gets you to kind of just be aware of the retention of light. So in here, like in this whole grassy area, the inclination for people to do grass is they're thinking, okay, this is going to be this grassy area. So, they'll look at their pens or something like that and they'll think, I'm talking about when people are first starting to do this. They'll look at, okay, this is grass green, and they'll fill in this whole area right in here with a uniform application of value, okay? But if you think about it a little bit further, and you think about checkerboarding, okay, it just, here's darker up here, here's lighter right here, dark, light with the, it was dark right here, this whole area, but I've put this white right in there to bisect this area of, a little bit, darker area. The rock was darker than the grass, but I just created a little bit more separation with the white here, because see, this green down here is kind of the same value as that rock almost. So I've just bisected it up instead this one area of darkness, now we have two because this is coming in between. All right. So, think about checkerboarding when you're adding your color additions, and it doesn't matter, it could have been the opposite. Maybe this area is light up here and this area is dark, it doesn't matter, just as long as there's, a little bit of variation in there, and that will be your lighting, okay? And in, like landscape, scenic stamping, your lighting scheme can really be whatever you want it to be, you know, this could be light over here, you know, how I made this place darker, you know, over here. I mean, it could be, you know, completely light, and we can just say there's light coming in from that side of the tree too. So there's not any right and wrong. What you just want to do is just, you know, create a little bit of a variation for interest. Okay, now see this tree right here, and I just put this little line of, you know, whatever, reflective light, or it could be white wildflowers. I don't know what it represents. It can represent whatever you want it to. But see, I've created a little bit of separation between this grass and this tree trunk now. Or, you know, this grassy area right here. I mean, this is pretty light right here, and this is darker. Now I've made this little area a little bit lighter than this one up here. Okay. So you can see, you know, it's kind of bringing that little area down here to life too by, you know, creating that little bit of illumination. Let's do it right here too, on this one. All right, let's just see this right here. So you go some dots, none, dots, none, dots, none. So it's kind of a textural kind of oscillation too. You're oscillating light, it's a little bit lighter, darker, lighter, darker, you know. But then there could be a lot of texture, not as much, texture, not as much too. So, you know, it's just kind of mixing things up a little bit. Or mixing it up a lot, I guess. It looks a little bit more magical, I'm thinking, too. It's getting that... There was a lot of colors down in here, so I'm kind of getting rid of some of that murkiness that areas can get to. But then you put that crisp little element back into it, and it doesn't look so kind of muddled. You just have that rich color scheme in the background, but you have still the sharpness of these little dots down here. In this case, you know, as far as the application that we're doing, or the whatever the mark that we're making. Let's see. Where do I get my auction number? No auction number needed. Oh, it's on eBay. Not for this piece. You guys don't need to. Harold, you know, their alluring Acadia is like every window in their house probably during the fall time, you know. It's framing off, you know, those trees and you know, whatever full color, you know, during that time of year. I think I've been out to those 2 times I was in Maine. The first time I think everything was green. It was that second time, you know, around that. All right, sometimes I remember the name of that convention that you guys used to have. Was it like Cornucopia or something like that, or? Forgot what it was called, but that time was the fall. But I also came back from that trip to I always talk about Maine. Everyone's probably sick of me talking about Maine and stuff like that, but I daydream about that place. But for years I was thinking, man, I have that whole national park to myself. And then at some point in time I thought, well, the whole state looks like those colors, you know what I mean? People's backyards, you know, driving to work, you know. It's, you know, it's all that color everywhere, you know. So it's not like they don't need to go to the, you know, the national park to see that, you know, type of thing. You know, the entire coastline looks like that. You know, the coast, you know, around that, you know, that national park. All right, so I'm adding a little bit more white. So this white right here is going to be, okay, now here's the thing here. I was adding that white down in there, and that was really changing the piece. And I have it normally, that white, usually when it dries, it kind of merges with the other dye-based colors and other paint pen colors underneath it, usually, right? But I spray sealed this, so every dot that I made really stood out a lot more, so I think that saved me a lot of time. You know, with my applications down here to spray seal it, so I guess I need to, I don't know, whatever, incorporate spray sealing into the process a little bit more in the future. You know, if I want things to just kind of go a little bit faster. You know, I'm usually doing quarter-page cards, so, you know, I'm starting and finishing a card in the same, you know, live stream. So I usually don't like to get up. I'll be right back, you know, in 5 minutes, you know, and go spray seal something. I guess I could. I've done that with like the vellum live streams before, but okay, I'm adding a little bit of highlighting on tops of some of these rocks, and I'll add this in these rocks, kind of in this little pocket right here of light. Let's add some of that on tops of some of these rocks right in here. Alright, I don't know, can you see that little highlighting down there with the white? Now that little bit of white that I've added down there, it shows up because I've given that base layer of, you know, those really super light tones like that. So even white against the lightest areas in here, not everywhere, but in most of these areas I've done that real subtle layer of a base coat tone in there. So this white is really standing out against it, even if it's white over like a 5% you know, value of some color. In this case, it was the Peach Bellini and London Fog, right? I almost didn't remember what I used. All right, let's see. I think the lighting is getting a little bit more defined, you know, with these rocks and this little passageway in here. For people if you're logging on for the first time during the creation of this scene, one of the things I was mentioning, I think it was in the second video, you know, when I want the light kind of to be concentrated, like coming through this area right in here. So so we've darkened in these rocks over here a little bit, although now maybe they need to get darkened a little bit more, but I'm just kind of adding this little highlights right here on the top sides of a lot of these rocks to just reiterate that lighting direction that's happening within this piece. Okay, so you see on the tops of these rocks right in here, you know, on this one right here, maybe I'll, you know, put it on this side a little bit. I won't do it too much because this rock is darker, you know, to begin with, so stands to reason there won't be as many as much reflected light on there. So like that. Okay. And let's see. Yeah, we'll keep that one in the shadows over here. Maybe right here. Okay, how about across the way right here? Maybe on these rocks. Oh, Chicago traffic. Like big city traffic, right? Anywhere. Yeah, you get, in LA, you would get people, where you get those off ramps, and the off ramps, can connect back up to the on ramp from that exit there. So people, sometimes use those off ramp things just to get, whatever, 10 cars up a little bit, or, 7 cars, ahead of where they were. I hate that. I'm in San Diego now, and there's traffic over here, but, when people are saying, "Oh, I gotta get out there before traffic gets too bad," but I came from L.A. and like Orange County, where sometimes going at like the worst of times, like the worst travel day was like the day before Thanksgiving, and I don't know. Sometimes in the past, if you take off at the wrong time, the day before Thanksgiving, getting through LA might have taken and we're talking like, I don't know, from Long Beach to Los Angeles might have taken me like 3.5 hours to go. It was 180, I think it was 100, I think it was like 30 miles. I mean, that was extreme, but, just as far as like talking about people like jumping in line and stuff. Okay, now I'm adding some highlights on the top of this right here. Okay. So like that, so it's like the light is kind of coming across like that. This one's kind of illuminated over here too, but yeah, I think I'm going to leave it like that. All right. You see a lot more of those textures when I almost turn, like, easier when if I turned it over like this. Oh, you notice that they're following. 19 years now and more getting bold. Yeah, that's too bad. But it's also, you know what I mean? I guess as the population kind of increases anywhere, people getting impatient and stuff like that. But it was really nice to see. I don't know if I had the inclination to do it, but I definitely noticed that no one was doing that. But I thought it was really nice though, because you know what I mean. So people aren't punished for politeness, or just not. I don't know if it's even being polite. It's just not being rude. Okay, so adding in these little highlights like that. Do you see those little highlights with the white on the tree trunk like that? Do you see what that does to like a subtle little kind of highlight on there? So you can see it on here, right? On these two, I put it. Here's this one doesn't have it, okay? Now, again, you don't have to do the same thing on everything, you know. Maybe it stands out better in terms of a little bit of contrast or something like that, or you can just do a little bit less too, you know what I mean, if you want to. But this is, again, it's a way to go in and add in that nice little kind of element of crispness or kind of sparkling light within a piece. Now I did do the blue, but the blue is more subtle, okay? And the white is going to have, you know, the highest degree of contrast, although I do like this kind of muddling of it, you know, just kind of smearing it out like that in some areas like that. But from a textural standpoint, I do like doing that. I just feel that it, as I've always mentioned on all these videos, you see these highlights on everything. So if this, you know, pencil was a tree trunk right here, you know, this pencil right here, you know, you have this kind of highlight like this on the side of the pencil facing the light, and it doesn't matter if it's, you know, dark like this, it's still the same kind of, you know, reflective light that's on there. And that's what we're just doing right here. So kind of not having this on there, I mean, we can do that, but for me, knowing what even the smallest little kind of touches like this can bring to it, it's hard for me to not utilize usually whites like this. Okay, now see, that one stands out a little bit too much, so I can just kind of mute it out a little bit like this. All right, so just a little bit of highlighting kind of at the top. That one stands out a little bit too much. Oh, one of the things about kind of adding these white highlights in here too, this acrylic right here, this pen, you can stain, let me find a good color for that. You can stain these colors with, you know, your acrylic with your alcohol inks. Alcohol inks seem to, you know, color acrylics with no problem. So like that little line right there, I just put, you know, I put a little bit of alcohol ink over the top of it. So if it stands out too much, then just tint it, you know, which is kind of fun because you can get different colors of, you know, your acrylic, or you can get your acrylic, I don't know, whatever colors to match whatever colors you have in alcohol inks. I guess you can probably, I hadn't really thought about it. I don't know if dyes would stick to it. I think probably alcohol is better. But, you know, there's a lot more alcohol ink colors than there are, you know, acrylic paint pens. So, you know, if you have white, then in theory you have kind of, you know, potentially every color of your alcohol pens in like acrylic, you know, marker form just by, you know, going in there and tinting it. I mean, it's not the same as adding, you know, color, you know, directly out of this, but I mean, it's, if you're using it like me, I don't think it really makes any difference. Yeah, those are my two big ones on eBay. I have a couple other 11 by 17s, but I put like a couple of my more significant ones up there. I don't really have too strong of an emotional connection with my pieces because whenever I finish a piece, I'm just kind of on to the next one. I do like looking at those other, pieces, but I'm just, I'm creating these new ones all the time, and I just assume, those pieces be with someone that might enjoy them more than, more than I'm enjoying them being like in a box, that I'm not, dipping into and looking at, like, really ever. And, those eBay things too, those sales like that, that helps pay for, like new plates and everything like that, for new designs and stuff. All right, so let's see. Candy, did you tell me you lived in Laguna Niguel? Man, that's nice. What a nice area. That place that I taught at, that Laguna. Now, Candy, when did you live there? Did you go like to, the pageant of the arts and all that type of thing when you were living in there? I never have, but um, I lived in Huntington Beach for years. But the areas that, like, for my diving, scuba diving class, we would always go off of Laguna, like Laguna, one of those Laguna Niguel beaches. We didn't go like Divers Cove, but we went to a couple of the other ones that were less crowded, to do our training. Oh, hello, Ginger. If I didn't say that. Oh, bye to Jen earlier. Oh, did those auctions end, or are they about to? I don't know. Someone said 15 minutes here. Framed. I've been asked in the past, hey, do you frame your pieces? And it was always no. Um, and I've only framed my pieces recently for these auctions. And I am shocked just how much, framing adds to the appearance of a piece. I wasn't oblivious to, like, I have like framed posters and stuff like that, that I've done, not of my own pieces, but I was just pleasantly surprised at just how much that just framing kind of brings to it. I guess what the framing, it's not only just putting it under glass, but it's having that extra kind of border, I guess, around it, and I guess it flattens it out, and I don't know, maybe having the glass over the top of it too, it kind of unifies some of the things that you might want unified, but of course it's not bearing things like textures or anything like that. But yeah, I was pretty shocked, and especially those big ones, those 11 by 17s. Because those 11 by 17s too. I mean, this, I don't know if you can tell here, but this surface, is a little bit ripply like that. Because of the medium, all that media on there. So I just, I like it. I like the look of it, kind of, uh, how it looks. It looks like it's been like ironed out or something like that in that frame. All right. Pretty textural. I'm over texturing, by the way, this piece because I'm going to add in, some of that foggy kind of, blanket, carpeting over different areas in here. So I'm making certain things a little bit darker than I normally would if I wasn't going to do. Yeah, see how rippled that is right there. So I'm over texturizing, over color. Okay, I got a lot of glare coming off of this here. I'm going to turn this back. Okay, so that's about the lighting of this piece. I bumped it up a little bit just a little while ago, my exposure, just so you can see the dots getting laid down a little bit easier. But this is more of the true color. At least that's the way it looks on my computer screen like that. So, but see these textures in here. I think it looks okay like that. Sometimes I go a little bit more overboard than I have right here. But in some areas I'm overdoing it just a little bit to, really accentuate the lighting in those given spaces. But again, I'm not worried about it because the white pigment ink, if you kind of overdo anything, if you go too dark on areas, that white pigment ink will just, immediately resolve those types of issues in here. Look at that. I really like this area, like right in here, that wood. And again, that's the those skin tone markers. And then the spray sealing going over the top of it, and then you just add more over the top of that like that. So I think that really helped in this scene. All right, so I need to do a couple more things, and then we'll call it a night with this portion of this scene, but I think I just have one more to go. So I brought out more texture stamps too that I'll add within this piece. I was thinking about adding this right down in here and, like a smaller version of it, like back here in the distance like that. Like a dead version of this tree, I'm not sure about this one yet, but I think that would look pretty good like this, to have these reiterated like this, and this crisp little kind of brush or whatever in a couple of these areas, not the whole thing, but just kind of coming up like that. But that'll add a little bit of a crisp dark element to these light shimmery areas, okay? And it kind of stabilizes things a little bit more. Like this one would look really good, I think, like back in here, like behind this tree, and with just a little bit in front of this one, because just all of these just shimmery dots, you know what I mean? It's kind of like an abstract thing back there. But if you add something like this over the front of it, or I can add little crisp lines too, which I'll probably do with my white pen to give these a little bit of like a trunk, or these branches in here, a little bit more form. That will be good. And then I have this. I'm not sure if I'll use this or not at the base of some of these trees. But that's what I had planned today, but I don't know. I spent so much time on, to kind of developing these shadows a little bit more. I just didn't get around to it. And what time is it right now? 5:21. This has been, it's like 2 hours. Yeah. Like Linda's, we put Linda to sleep, and, Jeannie's snoozing out. Let's see. Crown Valley Parkway was 2 lanes, 1 each way. I have my next series on eBay. I think I'm going to put this series of 3 pieces that I did a while back. And there were some of my favorite 8.5 by 11 pieces. It's this old man and dog scene going through this grove of trees. And there's the covered bridge scene. But I did them, they're not necessarily a triptych. and I'm going to sell them individually, but they're kind of a sequential thing. I mean, it could be a triptych. You know, they could be displayed together, but I did one of them as like a nighttime wintry scene. The other one's spring, and then the third one's fall. I don't have like summer in there. I mentioned in like a previous video that I was doing here. I think when I was doing this one. I don't know. You know, I don't usually do like summertime depictions. I don't know. Summertime isn't really. It's not as defined, I guess. You know what I mean? If I was going to do something in, to depict summertime, like in here in Southern California, what am I going to do? Like, like just a bunch of like brown hills, or something like that. In springtime types of scenarios, it's greens, it's wildflowers, deciduous trees, and coming back around, and bright tones and whatnot. And winter, of course, can be interesting with snowy types of things. I usually like to do a lot of snow winter scenes at night too, because I like that white terrain, snow-covered terrain or something like that, like at nighttime with like the moon glistening off of the snow. And then, of course, springtime. I always like doing these types of touches, like in the grassy areas for wildflowers. Oh, and I also framed my It-inspired. Let me show you this right here. So here's that one. Here's the. I don't have all. I didn't grab all three of them, but there's the. More of the spring. Well, no, this is the autumn one with those autumn colors in the background. And there's my fences down below, but there's that one right there. That looks so much better with the frame. But this one's like one of my favorite pieces right here. And it's been inspired like by the movie It. We just saw that movie It when I did this one. It was like around, I don't know, it was like October, I don't know, September, I don't know when It came out, but I want to do a Halloween-ish scene. So I did that. It's like a hiker and child, but I just didn't put the hiker there. I only used the child, and I just did that little balloon in there. But look at that in that frame. I thought it looked really cool in the frame like that. All right, so adding more of these glistening little aspen leaves here in the foreground. These are supposed to represent like some little saplings coming up or something like that. Juveniles. All right. This yellow is pretty powerful here in its opacity. It's a super opaque paint pen. We'll see how it does as far as longevity, but I don't foresee any problems with it. Okay. Seeing these little things like that. Okay. And one of the things I was mentioning in the previous video too, I'm going to layer these foreground branches with a darker impression of them, really in black, to contrast against these lighter branches here. So it'll create a little bit more of a silhouette type of effect in here. So I think we made some pretty good progress here. I'm spending a little bit more time with certain things. For those that just logged in too, I don't know if you can tell, but in these rocks back in here, one of the things that I added in here that worked pretty well was I added this pretty purple, tone into those areas. It was this, in the deepest of shadow areas. Okay, because that purple really goes really well with this kind of lime green colored scheme. So it was this color scheme right here. And you wouldn't think that's in here, okay, from looking at it, that lime green. It's that Halloween, kind of color scheme. Not that this, I don't want this to be, like Halloween, but that's a really good color harmony. I don't know if that's a triadic, color scheme like that or whatever. I didn't really get into that too much, but I've heard of those types of color schemes that, that harmonize with each other really well on the color wheel. But you can see those violet tones in these rocks right in here that I added a little bit in there, but I kind of doubled down on that much more on this one to go with these trees. And then some of that violet is actually up in these, like the shadow areas of the tree trunks right here. So I didn't make it too prominent, but I colored like these black right over the black and then going out a little bit from that with the violet. So that's that tone right there in the tree trunks and on the rocks and the foreground rocks as well. So that I think really helped things. The spray sealing for sure helped because as I was going over these trees again with about 3 more layers of colors. You can see how rippled that is right there. If I tried that without spray sealing at first, it just would have dissolved all of the alcohol inks that were underneath it. And I'd just be kind of like spreading it around a little bit. I wouldn't be adding additional layers. I don't know how far you can go with that. I don't think I'll probably spray seal this again before I kind of approach it again, but I don't think I'm going to, I won't do a live, I'll torture you guys with, another like 3 layers of colors over the, the tops of the trunks or something like that. But I do think the trunks got quite a bit richer as a result of spray sealing and going over them with another couple layers of the, the transparent alcohol inks. Same thing on the rocks a little bit. The rocks didn't get quite as much of a treatment with additional layers except for in the shadows. But it's not like they're glowing or something like that, But, this is supposed to be wood, too, and this is supposed to be rocks, so I don't want it, like, super warm, rocks unless I was doing, like, red rocks or something like that. But, and then spray sealing, too. I didn't have to lay down so much layering with my acrylic paint pens, laying them over, like, I don't know, some dye-based inks or something like that, where it just, the acrylic inks, they just kind of absorb into the paper a little bit, at least the water base of it. And I think that's the thing that makes them turn quite a bit darker looking and more see-through, okay? So sometimes, I've had to really overwork some areas just to get that kind of that shimmer and sparkle into things like fall foliage trees, and I didn't have to do that as much this time. It could have been this brand of ink pads, these pens too. I mean, I did most of that yesterday, but I just added some more down right now. But I think spray sealing could be a pretty good way to go, at least, with this type of thing right here, if you're using this combination of media. And I think it'll expedite things so much easier to get, a really rich result, because it's not going to be merging with the base layers, when you go on with, whatever, a 3rd or 4th layer of color over the top of it. So I don't know. I think that could be a good you know, strategy for, I don't know, whatever, quicker scenes with the, you know, layered type of effect here. Okay, the mysterious woods. I like that. That one right there, that one is really fun to do, Ginger, there. You kind of just do everything in grayscale, then you go back into it and you tint it with, you know, your other tones in there. So this was just like, you know, some distress ink colors or something like that. You see a little bit of that peachish color or whatever up there, but up here it's mostly grayscale with a little bit of a warm tinge in there. But yeah. Those are fun to do. If I do that scene again, I'm going to add like those little, you know, kind of spooky glowing eyes in the shadows, I think, which I did after that on the next scene after that one. Kind of like a, you know, not quite Scooby-Doo in the shadows or something like that with those big eyes, but just little dots or something like that to make it really fun. So Halloween's coming up. I can't believe we're almost in August, so I think it's time to bust out some Halloween scenarios. This would be really a really fun Halloween scenario right here too. I just, instead of all that color, it'd just be grayscale and, you know, a lot darker. You know, something like that. So, and then Froggy Fresh is going to do, when they do theirs, you know, they can add that dragon up there. I don't know if dragon's like not really Halloween-ish, you know, unless someone's dressing up as a dragon or something like that. They're dressing up as Smog. All right, let's see. Is that one going to be sold on eBay? Wait, are you talking about the Froggy Fresh? Was that the balloon one? Yeah, it will be. Well, all those ones will be. Anything that I'm framing up probably will be. I haven't framed up, I don't think I've framed up anything and I've said, hey, I'm keeping that one. If I was going to keep anyone, it would have been that Acadia one, I think. I don't know. Maybe not. I'm trying to think of which, I don't know. They need to go to someplace, you know, someone that will enjoy them. Those look great framed, don't they, Linda? And that, you know, so that's perfect for you, Linda. Now that, you know, when you start doing your larger, do you have all your larger scenes still, or have you given them out? I can think of, you know, some of your larger, any of your larger scenes, but. Yeah, you have a ton of scenes that you can frame up, and it would look really great. So yeah, just look into those like you know, those 4-pack of frames or something like that. Yeah, the It one. That one was a lot of fun. That It one was where I learned, oh, you know, if we needed like a red balloon, I don't have to use a pen, so I just grabbed that. I looked in a magazine when I was looking for it. I wanted the right color red, so I just scrolled through, you know, a magazine. I don't have a magazine near me, but, you know, there was like a... All right, so here's like a AARP bulletin, right? So if that's the red you need, you know, I just cut the red out of that, or here's a warm red right here, you know, for a little, you know, I just needed a tiny little balloon. So if you need, like, you know, here's you know, this color right here. If you need that color for anything, just cut it out of a magazine. And that's what that was from. And then on that balloon right there, that's the white paint pen. You know, I just put like 2 little dots right there in the corner of that balloon. So, you know, I don't have a balloon stamp like that, but that worked out better because I was able to get like the exact red that I wanted on there. It didn't look like a balloon until I put that little white dot on it. So it's like the same technique, right? You just add that down there and you know, that, I'm telling you, if you don't have a white paint pen, if you're not using it, you know, you might, I don't know, I would say consider it, because it works wonders, you know, for like little red balloons too. Which we're always incorporating into our scenes, right? From Stephen King movies. All right, so adding a little bit more green into here too. I'm looking at my screen here, and we can add a little bit more of a greenish tinge in here, like this. Speaking of paint pens. All right. I think that is it on this one. Speaking of it, this isn't done. One more session on this one. I think that will be complete. I think so. We'll add in some extra imagery and a little bit of extra texture. I think I got the lighting down where I want it to be. So it's just going to be some additional layers. I still don't know what I'm going to do as far as the subject matter. I briefly considered, like adding this little fisherman down here, but I thought, I don't want to add that. If I do anything, I think I'm going to add some wildlife in here or something of that sort. If I was doing this for like a fly, if this was like a commissioned piece and someone was like a fly, they like fly fishing, I would add that one in there. I think this would be really cool because there's a lot of these little, those holes they call them, to throw your line into, and I would add those little fish down there, which I think are going to go in there anyway. But I don't know. I think something right back in this area would be good. I think. I don't know. In this area up here too, this could be like an area for like a quote stamp too. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do that on here though, on such a big piece, to have some kind of like a quote. Yeah, I'll do that on the quick scene version of this one, I think. All right. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So Froggy Fresh. Yeah. So I didn't read down there, but yeah, there's your balloon stamp there. You can do any version of a balloon too. You can do whatever elongated one or a standard one. You probably can't do a balloon animal cutting it out, of a piece of paper, but maybe you could. Glad you like it, Paula. Coming along. Hey, Paula, did I ask you, where did you live in California? Okay, Ginger, I sealed it. I did a light sealing too, okay? So the Krylon workable fixative. I don't know why I call it fixative. I thought the other ones were called fixatives. But I did a light spray with the Krylon fixative on here. And I especially hit the trees. It doesn't look like anything was really done, but I did hold the piece up after I spray sealed. And before, the thing that was looking like a different texture were the trees, because there was a lot of alcohol ink on them, so they looked really shiny. So there's a little bit more of a uniformity over this whole piece by spraying the whole piece with that workable fixative. Okay, and the workable fixative isn't going to make something glossy if anyone doesn't know about that. Okay, the workable fixatives are, it's kind of it's the least influencing of any type of spray sealants, because it's not supposed to change them or anything like that. It's supposed to be some coating that doesn't influence your pieces, so that you can just work over the top of them, and add more, whatever. And like I said earlier, it's if anyone was on, it's your graphites and charcoals and pastels. You know what I mean? If you keep working pastels over pastels over pastels, you're going to be digging out the pastels that you already laid down. So you spray seal it, and get that layer, and then you can add some additional things over the top of it without changing what you've already laid down, the base coat layers. All right, so on this one, not necessarily that case, because these aren't dry. This isn't dry media that we're working with, but it did allow me to layer a lot more on there. And I guess I wouldn't have thought this was happening in the past, but I speculated that it might. But these acrylic paint pens laid down on here, I don't know if it would change it because I had a lot of alcohol inks on there, kind of sealing off the base, sealing off my dye-based inks. But I was convinced, though, that some of the water-based acrylic inks were, sopping into the surface and into the pulp of the paper, and thus getting a much more see-through version of these acrylic pens. So I think sealing this off like that helped to retain kind of the lighter values, in this case, of those paint pens. Which helped because I didn't have to add so much of it down, and to really build up that paint to make it stand out, like against the base. And it was especially true down here in this grassy area. That white really stands out, so I didn't have to work it so much, which is nice, you know what I mean? Because you can kind of feel like you're overworking something, and a lot of times in the past I think I have overworked it, where I've had to use a lot more of the white pigment ink to kind of remedy that. But I think that looks, really good in here with just, the amount of highlighting that I thought it would need, and not having to go more by building up the dots on top of one another, getting more of an opaque, highlighted look in those areas there. So I don't know. So yeah, I'm learning quite a bit with this one here. But like I said, I'm not going to go and do like extreme versions of color layering on everything, Like on a quarter-page card, I'm not going to add, like 8 layers of colors, I don't think. In there was colored pencils down there too, and dye-based inks, so there might be like 10 layers of ink built up on here. So yeah, not on a 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. Paula, this is a 11 by 17 right here, so double page spread, or whatever, tabloid size. Yeah, so Paula, you can, or you can look up, so Linda and I were, talking about that before. Linda, what were we doing? Did we do a lot of 11 by 17s before, like last year? I don't remember. I've always suggested that Linda work larger, because when I saw her doing like bigger pieces, I thought those seemed to kind of like be her sweet spot. But then I started doing those monster maps last year in 11 by 17s. I had done like 1 or 2 11 by 17s before that, but I think doing those monster maps and just doing like 3 11 by 17s in a row, the pieces didn't, I don't know, it didn't seem to be quite as intimidating of a size anymore when you do like 3 in a row, you know what I mean? And for me, this one right here, I didn't necessarily use a lot more stamps on this one than I would like maybe a half-page piece of paper, because you can see here it's like this is here's the tree trunk and aspen trees and rocks right here, okay? And that's basically the same thing that's in this section right here, and that's the same thing in this section right here. It's tree trunks, grass, rocks, and then here's the foreground rocks down here, which are the same rocks as up here. So it's like there's not a huge amount of stamps in here. The monster maps, yeah, because that was a different thing. And this one is also using some of the art foamies, which tends to fit, they're just bigger stamps, so they fill in more space in here. But when I'm doing large pieces like this, most of the time, if it's a scene, I'm just using the same stamps, just a lot more, and not necessarily, for me, adding like a bunch of different stamps in here. I could have, like right in here, it'd be kind of cool to have like a road coming through here. I know we'd have to do some kind of bridge or something like that, but you can do, we could have done other things and put other things in the background, mountains or something like that. But for the most part, it's the same stamps just repeated, and it doesn't really take that much longer to stamp them out in terms of the composition. And then, it takes a lot more time to color than, a smaller piece or something like that. But I'm just using the same colors over all of them, so it's not like each one of these tree trunks is a different color scheme. So it didn't go. And like I said, I'm going to do this one in a much faster version. I'm just kind of, I wanted to go kind of color depth crazy on this one and really try to go like all the way to the extremes on this one. So yeah. So Paula, time to bust out that that 30 by 40 piece and do your scene like on a, I don't know, you need to clear out the like the dining room table or something like that on that gigantic piece. Linda is going to be when Linda gets her art foamies, stamps like this. She said she's stamping like her bedroom wall in that like a mural, right, Linda? So Linda, yeah, if you have your stamps out, now's the time to do that Halloween one. If you have all the stamps out that you did your composition with, so you don't have to put them away and grab them again. So just do another, whole composition while the stamps are still out. Unless, like I said, unless you already put them away. Oh, a Bigfoot stamp peeking out behind. That would be kind of cool. Yeah, that in the background like that. That's right. That's, when you mentioned Bigfoot, I think I was going to do at one point in time, or it was an idea, the, like a Yeti or something like that, abominable snowman type of thing, Loch Ness Monster, Bigfoot, I don't know, whatever some other mythical kind of creatures, But I was thinking about doing something like that as a little set or something like that we can put into scenes. I thought that would be really fun, So I think what was that one famous Bigfoot snippet, from whatever it was, the 60s or 50s. I don't think it was the 50s, but I wanted to do that version, I think someone had that image. It might have been a Viva Las Vegas stamps or something like that. But yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, Candy. Do you have you said you can see you have it then, right? Your Bigfoot stamp or something like that. See how these were made. So Paula, when I get done with this scene right here, I'm going to put it into I'm going to grab all of the videos and put it into like a sped up version of it, so you can really get the gist of how these pieces came together. I'll put it in like a 3-minute, version of this scene. Otherwise, you're going to be sitting like through like 6 hours of it. Maybe you told me about that, Paula. That sounds familiar. Yeah, I lived right there in Huntington Beach, so I lived in South Huntington Beach too. 92426 was that the area code right there? So I had to get off on my street was Brookhurst. I always had to get off on Brookhurst, and I was always driving down to Atlanta. Or no, Magnolia, not Brookhurst, Magnolia in Atlanta. Back for my niece's wedding. Yeah, I loved that area there. I loved it more when I first moved in there because Huntington Beach like filled up every square inch of open property, including the bluffs out there. Is this piece based on any particular place? No. It's like my fantasy location. Yeah, the creature plate, Ginger. Yeah, you reminded me of that with the Bigfoot there, so. Yeah. So maybe, is there any kind of flying? What are some other, like, common kind of mythical things? I don't know. Maybe I'll just, I don't know, it'll be like creatures like that, and then maybe I'll throw together some bats or something like that. Some things that I've been kind of missing, or I don't know, don't exist out there in the right proportions for what I wanted. I do have some bats and things like that, but I wanted, I don't know, some different looking ones to go into like Halloween-based scenes. So I always love, one of my favorite things to do. I'm doing color here, but you know, some of my favorite color schemes are just like those grayscale ones. And that balloon one that I just showed you was basically grayscale, but it was grayscale, but I just tinted it with some richer, warmer tones in there. So it's like a rich grayscale color scheme. But something like that would be really, you know, cool for like creatures or something like that. I don't know. Maybe I'd need to do my own creature of the Black Lagoon. I usually don't do anything like so specific like that for like from a given movie, but everyone likes that creature from the Black Lagoon stamp of mine from Ken Brown Stamps. I contacted him, I don't know, at some point in time. I wonder if he still has the plates for all of his things. He probably doesn't, because I think he went out of business like in the 80s, and I don't think even Rubber Stamps of America had some of his designs. I don't know, maybe he gave them all the plates, I don't know. But yeah. Oh, yeah. So we talked about the unicorn. Yeah, Phoenix, Griffin, unicorn, flying, flying monkeys. I think do I have a flying monkey? Oh, no, I don't have a flying monkey. I was thinking of the company Yes Pigs Can Fly, which I bought a couple of images from. I used to love that company, apparently. I don't even know anything about them, but I'd walk into Rubber Stamp Madness, which carried like the stamps from like every company out there. And I wouldn't walk out with a basket full of stamps or anything like that, but sometimes, you know, I'd buy like 3 or 4 stamps when I was making a delivery of Stampscapes to their stores. And I don't know, just that Yes Pigs Can Fly. And I looked at their catalog too. I didn't even like 80% of them, but there were some of them that really kind of stood out to me. And there were those more kind of funkier looking things. We looked for the creature of the Black Lagoon, but they didn't have it. They had like that other creature, like a lagoonish kind of creature, I think. Or maybe it was a different version of it or something, but I couldn't find it because I was looking for something for people because they'd always ask me every time I use that, like once a year. And I'd always try to be finding something on eBay, but it wasn't like it was that popular a design, I don't think, even back when it was in production. So you don't see like a lot of them, you know, used ones for sale, unfortunately. We might have come across, or no, maybe I'm thinking of the Edward Gorey set. That was like, I don't know, someone found it on eBay, but it was like that set was, you know, like $75 or something like that, crazy amount like that. And they, you know, they were just kind of interested in the one stamp out of that set. It was like a $5 set that they used to sell at like Barnes and Noble or something like that. You know, one of those foam break apart, you know, foam sets of those things. But yeah, I don't know. I'll have to look again. I don't know. Maybe Ginger, if you see that again, or I don't know, don't look for it, you know, or whatever, you know, unless you. But if you send me the link for it, you know, Creature of the Black Lagoon, that'd be great. But I remember there was a different creature that I was just telling people, hey, you can use this one, you know, on the Viva Las Vegas site. And I don't know if they got it or not. It's like, yeah, Kevin, yeah, that's not what I want. All right, folks. Thanks for joining in. What day is today? This Tuesday live. Hope to see you on the final live for this piece. Okay, you got that one, Linda. It was the Creature of the Black Lagoon then, right? Huh. You probably used it in your monster maps, right? Thanks, Ginger. Thanks, Paula. Enjoyed it too. Thanks for bearing with me, watching me apply, you know, 2,000, you know, undiscernible dots onto you know, a gigantic scene. Not, you know, not very dynamic viewing probably. Thanks, Kiara. All right, I'll probably jump on sometime tomorrow for this one and finish it off. I'm going to be very anxious to see what this looks like. Maybe I'll I'll show you what this looks like in a frame too when we're done with it. I can do that because I have a couple extra of the 11 by 17s now too, so yeah. Monster maps. I don't know. I don't want to do a bunch of monster maps again, but I think it's time to do. Let's come up with something. Maybe we do like monster reflection cards. I need to do a reflection card again. Halloween reflection cards. That'd be kind of cool. You know, seeing those ghoulish kind of entities. Everyone join the Stampscapes Facebook group and see these pieces go up when we put out these like challenges like that. It's fun seeing, you know, the different interpretations of all of these different challenges out there and what people do with them. Now, some people be like, I don't want to go on Facebook. So, yeah, like I said, Linda's, you know, hopefully we get more people just, you know, opening up like a free Flickr account or something like that and posting those types of things. So there's a Stampscapes group on Facebook. I mean, on Flickr too. You don't have to be a member, you know, just go at flickr.com and type in Stampscapes, and there's the Stampscapes group, okay? Or, you know, I got all my folders up there too, but I don't have like everyone else's stuff in there. eBay has a Ken Brown creature for $75 right now. Actually, that's what I was talking about with, you know, some of those crazy prices of that type. I'm surprised it's even up there. I think I saw one years ago when I first did you know, a Creature of the Black Lagoon, but yeah, I don't know, that's $75. That'd be a little bit too much, I think. All right, folks. Have a great rest of evening. Linda, it's time for your nap now. And we'll see you at 3 a.m. on the live stream. I'm just joking. We'll be on here probably tomorrow or the next day or something like that to finish this piece off. All right, folks. Thanks again.